how to use the system, and all that it has to offer. This video will cover precisely that. As you already know, in order to make use of the system, you have to have one instance of Blueprint Graphics main in all of your levels. This Blueprint is where you control everything related to my system. When you drop it in your scene, you will see that it has a few categories. Now we will go through all these one by one. First off, we have here options to use in this menu. This is where you decide which options you want to have included in the system. You may not want to have certain options displayed to the player, or you may want to have manual control over certain options. This is where you do that. So, for example, let's disable SSAO, motion blur, and FX quality. Hit play. Open up our menu, go to graphic settings. We no longer have ATBO and that other thing that we disabled. I can't remember it now. Oh yeah, it was motion blur and FX quality. They're gone. You can now go ahead and change those in your games by manual console commands, or you can just preset them when your project begins play or anything and leave them as they are in case you don't want player control over those options. Moving on, we have here the main category. Now, I will get back to that in more detail a bit later. Essentially, this is where you decide the name of the save file that this system will be using in this certain play session. But we're going to come back to that. Moving on, we have here default values of menu options. Effects only the used ones, of course. This is what the options will revert to when you press the defaults button. So there's not much to say about this category really. Let us just make a quick demonstration and turn these off, disable all these, hit play, open up our menu. Everything is set to epic now, and we're still not using motion blur and FX quality and whatever that other thing was. So hit restore to defaults, and as you've noticed, everything is now low because those were our default values that we just set. Moving on, we have here utility tools. Allow me to get back to that in just a minute, and let us first move on to virtual save file options. Virtual save files allow you to dynamically change the graphics options while in runtime in any blueprint you want through any means of command you want. Now, you do that by first assigning a virtual save file with the desired specific options you want here. In this case, everything in this virtual save file is set to low. We've given it the name of profile2. We create overwrite it. And the name of our current save file is profile1. So in profile1, we have everything set to epic and the highest settings possible. And in the virtual save file that we created with the name profile2, we have everything set to low. So let us go to a blueprint. This is my character blueprint, and we have here the keys 1 and the keys 2. What you want to do is you want to get all actors of class. You can do that in almost any blueprint you want. And you want to get blueprint main, graphics main. You can safely use get actors of all class node for as long as you are using the class that my system gives you, because I made it sure that you can only have one instance of this class in your levels. We're gonna get, and we're gonna load graphics settings from virtual save file event. And we're gonna give this profile1 because that is the save file name that we just assigned. And this one will be profile2. Oh, and we have to get the first actor from here as well. Exactly. Now, what we expect is when we hit the key 1, we expect the game to keep our options as they are, as the highest settings possible. But when we hit key 2, we are expecting everything to go to the lowest settings possible as we specified in this virtual save file. And let us try that. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and hit 1. Nothing happens because it is essentially trying to load the same graphics file that is also being used now. But see what happens when we hit 2. Exactly, everything is set to low, Resolution scale is a bit messed up because it's set to 10% as well. I can actually set this to 1 and clarify the demonstration a bit more. Of course, I also have to, after setting it to 1, overwrite that virtual save file. And this is 2, low settings. This is 1, high settings. 2 and 1. So this is what the virtual save file system is and what it allows you to do. I can think of a few places where this is useful. It is probably going to be useful in cutscenes, but you can use this for graphics profiling as well. So you can assign many graphics profiles in these virtual save files, and you can have relevant load events for each and every one of those save files. So when your game is ready for packaging, you can use this to quickly and very efficiently go through the graphics profiling phase of your game when it's being packaged. We have one last part left to cover, and that is utility tools. So utility tools is actually where you control the system, and let us go over all these buttons here. They're bools, but they're being used as buttons. Select all usable options, of course. Make sure that they're all set to true, and this one sets them all to false, as you can understand from the name. So these three here are actually very convenient, and you're going to want to use these. So you're going to have many levels in your projects, of course, and you want to have the same default values in all of your levels, of course. That would be tedious if you had to actually assign these to the same values that you assigned them in your first level. Instead, what I've allowed you is you can actually create default saves as well. So let's show you how that works. We're going to give this the name of defaults1, and we're going to demonstrate, turn some of these randomly, default AA to 8, these to epic, etc. So we're gonna go ahead. Oh, also, let's first uncheck some of these as well, just for the sake of demonstration. And we're gonna go ahead, save defaults and used options. So right now, you have the defaults and the used options packaged in one save, and the name of that save is defaults1. Now, when you go ahead and open up another level, actually, let me just load a level that I already have. Particle test map works. No, we don't need to save it. You're gonna go and P graphics menu, drop this, but as it comes, when you first drop it, everything in these default values are set to low, but you want these to be the same as the values that you assigned to them in your previous map. You do that by writing here defaults1, hitting the load defaults and used options, and it displays a nice message saying successfully loaded options. Here you go. You're now using in the system exactly the same options and exactly the same defaults values for those options. This is very convenient, so make sure you're using it when you're running my system on a few levels. Okay, the last part is about the virtual save files. I've already shown you how that works, but essentially when you make a new virtual save file, you enter its name here, and then when you're happy with the specified options that you gave to that virtual save file, you click Create Overwrite Virtual Save File button. And it says save failed because we haven't given it a name. If you have any questions, you can always email me, write me on community forums, etc. And this is just about it. All you have to do is go and buy the system now. Thank you, and goodbye.